How to prepare a Verbum Dei testimony of life. The objective of a testimony of life is that the people who listen to it be deeply impressed by the experiences that you transmit and be moved to want to experience Christ personally and desire to love God and follow Him more closely. What really is a testimony of life? A testimony of life is a way of expressing how Jesus has entered into your world and changed your life. What is vitally important is that it be clearly seen in you that something has changed in your life, from what it was before to what it is today, because of Jesus. The testimony must be personal, based in the real-life experience of the one giving it. You are not meant to give Catholic doctrines or theological arguments, but rather to simply describe the concrete situations of life where you experienced Jesus' saving love. It is a living testimony, but not of what we have done for Jesus, but of what He has done for us. It is like what Jesus said to the man possessed by a demon after He threw the evil one out of his life. Go home to your people and tell them how much the Lord has done for you and how He has had mercy on you.
The characteristics of a good testimony of life. Number 1, it must be joyful. Joy is something contagious. It raises their curiosity and makes them want to have the same experience. Of course, it isn't the joy of not having any problems anymore, for that would not be real. Instead, we are joyful because even in the midst of pain, sufferings, difficulties, and struggles of life, we feel backed up by God who gives us the strength to carry on. In addition to the gift of joy, we can give it in a tone of gratitude to God for that godly experience. Number 2, brief. The testimony has to be brief and concise, between 5 to 7 minutes in duration. We don't have to tell them our life story. What you do have to tell them is what exactly happened which led to your own personal experience of conversion. Leave out all the unnecessary details. It should be given spontaneously. Don't be tempted to exaggerate things, neither of your past sin, nor of what God actually did. It is always better to simply say things as they were, and let the Spirit work. Number 3, centered in Christ. The experience has to be centered in Christ's passing through your life, and not in yourself, either to win the admiration of the people or to have an opportunity to get on stage. A good testimony of life is based on Jesus and His message and tells the way He touched you or acted in your life. Hence, we should avoid saying phrases like, "I did this," or "I changed," and whatnot, but rather, "Jesus changed me," or "He cured my blindness," or perhaps, "Jesus saved me from destroying my life." You can end your testimony with a powerful ending, including an invitation such as, "Look, if He did it in me, He can do it in you."
How do you prepare a testimony of life? Firstly, there are 3 parts to a testimony of life: the before, during, and after. The before refers to how you were before you had the experience of Christ. The during refers to what actually happened when you met Christ and how it came about. The after is the effect the encounter had on you and the changes it brought about. It is good to speak about concrete changes in your life rather than in general, using, if possible, funny anecdotes or happenings which demonstrate the changes in you. Secondly, don't underestimate the value of your own experience. Many people think that their own testimony is not good enough or wouldn't be worth hearing. Not true. We all share so much in common, much more than you think. Very often, the life experiences of the disciples touch the people most because the others' experiences closely parallel their own. Also, remember that Jesus never does things for the individual alone. He acts for the good of all. Your experiences were not given to you solely for your own benefit, but for the whole church, Christ's body. Your testimony is a practical way to give the good news to the poor, to proclaim liberty to captives, and new sight to the blind, free the oppressed. Thirdly, what experience should you give? The greatest experience that you have had with God and that you feel you can give with the strongest conviction. If you have several to choose from, then ask Jesus which would be the best for the people to whom you are to speak. The most important thing is that it truly be your experience and not someone else's. Describe it with colorful details so that they can see it was yours, but don't go into so much detail that it becomes tiresome or hard to follow. Too much detail can cover up the most important things. Lastly, be conscious that your testimony could be the turning point for many people's lives in the recollection, and that Jesus Himself is making Himself present through you. You are His mouth, His hands, His ambassador.
Prepare the testimony as best as you possibly can. Here are some practical suggestions. Number 1. Speak slowly, clearly, and with interest. Write out your testimony beforehand, word for word, and show it to one of the missionaries. Number 2. Try to even out the 3 parts, the before, the during, and the after, so that they are roughly a 1/3 part each. Number 3. Better to be short and sweet, leaving the desire to find out more in the people than to be long-winded and tiresome to listen to. Number 4. Try to maintain eye contact with the people to whom you are speaking. Number 5. Pray beforehand that Jesus will speak through you, John the Baptist style. He must grow greater, I must grow smaller. Number 6. Try not to end the testimony by thanking the people for listening, or say anything that might detract them from your experience of Jesus, or that might encourage the people to applaud you for the testimony given. And lastly, remember, after the words, only Jesus and the living experience of Him should remain in the hearts of the listeners.